Is this your next smartwatch? Let's find out. Dave Taylor here, and I want to talk about smartwatches. Now, we're not talking about the Apple Watch. I'm not talking about the Samsung Gear 2 or anything like that. I'm talking about this. This is the Xiaomi AMAZFIT Pace. This is a pretty interesting smartwatch. It is a Bluetooth sports smartwatch. So it has heart rate monitor, it has GPS. It's not quite running Android Wear. They have their own version of the software, and there's a lot to really like about it. It's a pretty slick little device. However, it has a really interesting screen, which, and you're not going to even believe me, I'll try to show you this, but it's actually brighter and easier to see in direct sunlight than it is in a dark room. So one of the things you find with this is that you sort of hold it at different angles, and then you get to a certain angle and suddenly it's nice and visible. So here's an insert that'll show you a little bit of that. But this is like the core challenge with this watch, is that if you're going to be doing a lot of outdoor activity, their what they call trans-reflective LCD screen works great. But here, just inside, just looking straight on the watch, it's barely readable, which is super frustrating because it doesn't have a brightness control. But before we go too far down that particular issue, let's talk about what it does have. So, has built-in GPS. It's an IP67 waterproof design, and here's the thing that's going to really get you if you're used to like the Apple Watch. This is 11 days on a charge. Now, that's with fairly little use, but even if you use this super aggressively and you have continuous heart rate monitor and you have the GPS on because you're on some big hike or something, it'll still last a couple of days. In typical use, it's about 5 days. It takes 3 hours to charge, and you charge it using this little cradle. And if I take it off, I'll show you. On the back, there are little electrical connector dots, and then this has those same connector dots. You line it up, and then there's a micro USB, and you're good to go. 3 hours of charge from nothing to full. Not too bad at all. You can do a variety of different sports. It tracks trail, distance, altitude, number of steps. You can track your heart rate. It does sleep tracking if you can find it, and I'll get back to that too. You can connect headphones via Bluetooth, and it actually has onboard memory, something between like 2 or 3 gigabytes of memory, and you can download up to somewhere about 500 songs, and then have this connected to your little Bluetooth waterproof sports buds, and you can go for a run or a hike, and you don't even need your phone at all. The GPS works just on this. You know, the music works just on this. There's a lot of things they got right. It does all sorts of notifications. There's both an iPhone and an Android app that you need to get. You pair them, and then the app gives you some level of control, and there's also controls on the watch itself. Has lots of watch faces. That's one thing I really like. You can see here, there's a lot of different choices, and you know, then there's stuff. So one of the other issues is it's stuck in 24-hour mode. So if you're someone who at 3 p.m. in the afternoon wants to look at your watch and have it say 3, not 15, you got an issue. So one of the ways to do that is to only use faces that have hands. So then you sort of sidestep that. But part of the fun of this is actually having these nice bright digital faces, which doesn't actually work great because it's in 24-hour mode. So, you know, the brightness you can't control 24-hour or 12-hour mode. There's just certain features that it's just very surprising the company hasn't made available to us actual users. Has a ceramic bezel, so it's scratch resistant. And the screen, this is kind of cool if you can read it. And of course, this, as I said, works great outdoors. It's always on. So that's 11 days of an always-on screen. And this is something where if you're using something like an Apple Watch, you probably live in permanent frustration that, you know, the watch isn't always on. So you can't just glance down and see what time it is. You have to physically do something to make it turn on. And that's a little tedious. So I really like the always-on feature. The screen, however, isn't actually active for touch until you either push the one button on the side, or you can set it to do a double tap, and then it actually turns on, and now you can swipe around and do stuff. And I'll just show you just a little bit. It's kind of confusing. It's sort of like Snapchat, where it's like if you move this way, then this way, then this way, then you get to different screens. But there's a lot of data here. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I just feel like this is a good reminder that there's a certain level of user interface that needs to be designed for these watches to really work well as wearables that you don't really have to think about. Now, one more cool thing, has Wi-Fi connectivity, so if you're really in a pinch, you can actually connect via Wi-Fi, which is nice. And in terms of the specs, it is a 1.3-inch screen. It's pretty big. It's 12 millimeters thick, and the screen itself is 320 by 300 in, of course, a circular orientation, and it uses what they call a trans-reflective color LCD. Now, there's a lot I like about this. There's a lot I think they got right. But the biggest thing that I think is an obstacle that you have to know about before you decide to get one is the brightness. Outdoors, it's great. I mean, it's just a fantastic outdoor watch. And if you're in bright sunlight, again, it's like counterintuitive. In bright sunlight, the screen's crystal clear and bright and vivid. But in indoor use, in an environment like this, it's hard to read. And so what I find that I'm doing is I'm like tilting my wrist at different angles just to get just the right angle where I can actually see what's on the screen. And that's annoying. I want to be able to actually have it where, you know, whatever they do, a brighter backlight, some sort of a sensor that can tell I'm looking at it, which would be the Apple Watch solution. I want something where it doesn't mean that I have to work if I want to see what time it is. That just seems like such a basic sort of thing. Or, of course, it would be the same for reading a notification or anything else. So, this is the Xiaomi AMAZFIT Pace. And you can pick up one for yourself if you're still interested. It's $116, so it's not a huge investment, and it is a good sports watch with a lot of those sort of features that you'd want. $116 at gearbest.com. This is Dave Taylor, and I just wish they would have made this just a little better, but maybe the next generation will be something really cool. So that's all I got, and I'll catch you. Oh, wait, whoa, I'm not gonna catch you yet, because I want to ask you to click that subscribe button. Awesome. Now, I'll catch you in my next video.